The 12th day of August 2025 it is, and if you don't know, it's the International Youth Day today, and that is where we will be theming our discussion. We'll be talking about everything that surrounds the youth, including governance, including opportunities, and also politics as well. I have a rich panel here to discuss that, but allow me just to point out some of the other things that we are going to be looking at. Over 80 people have died in the last 1 week. We also need to take a check on our roads. 80 people in a week, it's a big number. And of course, Chan iko KBC. Chan is in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And if you have been watching or following up KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner, together with a number of radio stations who are actually beaming this important sports affair right here in our country. And of course, for the advertisers, guys, are also a perfect opportunity to place your products. You've seen the likes of Elgon Kenya, the agriculture lead, being one of the guys that are partnering with us, and others. Also, we are also beseeching companies as well. This is your opportunity. And this, of course, it's an opportunity for Kenyans. We are cheering Harambee Stars one match at a time. As of now, they have already raked in 2.5 million shillings each. President William Ruto yesterday giving them more promises in regards to Chan 2024. We'll also be touching on that. And allow me now to rope in my very rich panel of experts, beginning from my immediate left, from where we have Peter Mutua, who is the head of the delivery unit for the Nairobi County Government. Karibu sana, Bwana Mutua.
Thank you very much.
And we were here with you before, Chan. You'll be telling us what is happening so far and how, as Nairobi, we're still welcoming very many tourists. Of course, we're expecting the semi-finals and the finals to be very packed. Just next to Mheshimiwa, we have another youthful advocate of the High Court and also a governance and leadership expert, my very good friend, Shadrack Wamboi. Wamboi, karibu sana.
Thank you, Troy, and it's always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. Just next to him, another youth, Advice Mundalo. We've been discussing a number of issues right here in regards to matters youth, and I'm quite sure you have some good advice for the youth.
Definitely.
But guys, first things first, allow me to just point this out. Today being the International Youth Day, the theme for this year is local youth actions for the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and beyond. And before we delve into matters youth, Mheshimiwa, you have seen 80 people in the last 1 week. We're talking about the road accidents. And this is a conversation that we've had, I believe, for the longest time. But August, more or less in Kenya, always a dark month when it comes to accidents. I would like to pick your mind in regards to what exactly is happening.
First of all, may the departed souls rest in eternal peace, and condolences to those who lost their loved ones. And I dare say that you get what you confess. As Kenyans, we have always confessed that August is a dark month. But for me, I am O minus one. That all can say is a dark month minus myself, because you possess what you confess. But over now, practically speaking, it is so sad that 80, because even one is too many, and 80, then 80 is the whole world, because we're losing 80, and we are in the middle of the month, and now we are posting in terms of statistics that we have lost 80 human beings, 80 Kenyans, 80 hopeful people, 80 future, 80 present, and 80 everything. So we have not just lost a number that is called 80. We have lost human beings. And I wish the authorities could do something that this comes to an end. The authorities, in the sense that the Ministry of Transport, Interior, and whoever is concerned, that we do not have to come here. Instead of starting on a high note, our spirits sink. And when they sink that low, by the time we pick them up, it's going to be a lot of work, because loss in Kisumu is a loss in Makueni, loss in Kitui is a loss in Kwale. So it's sad. That's the only thing that I can say. Yeah.
Wamboi, I'm looking at 80 people in the last 1 week, and NTSA and the police, each and every time, they on the forefront to ensure that we don't have these numbers on the roads. But unfortunately, looking at the last 1 week has been quite dark for Kenya in our roads.
Well, please just permit me to first send my very sincere condolences to the to the families that have lost their loved ones. I know too well that, you know, with the loss of a loved one, it's a defining moment. It's a defining moment in the sense that if he were the breadwinner, you know, it will go and affect almost everybody in their family. So it is a very sad state of affairs. I know also too well that in you know, this month and the previous month, we've lost a lot of people in this country. And from the neighborhood where I come from, at Olkeri, there has been a call on our preachers to pray for our nation, to pray for our country, because some of these deaths are, you know, they're leaving a very big and indelible mark in the society. So for that reason, I join Mheshimiwa here in wishing the families well, in praying that this should be the end. Again, the month of August is usually a condemned month in this country. It's so, you know, when you look at the past with the benefit of hindsight, it will tell you that more often than not, we always, you know, prepare for the worst when it comes to the month of August. More often than not, you will hear people say that this is the month that you also lose a very influential person. So we've not lost one. I'm praying we don't lose one. But this is a month where we have lost so many of our very influential people in this country. Again, I want to also send my very sincere condolences to the family of MC Full Stop. MC Full Stop, John Maina. John Maina at some point influenced my life, and he also died on the very first day of this month. So it's a very sad state of affairs. The youth in this country who've been, you know, reggae fanatics know too well that he has influenced their lives. And he died out of, you know, the consequences that come with heavy drinking. He had spoken about it. I am hoping that as we speak about the youth agenda, that message, the message that was shared by MC Full Stop, aka John Maina, that message is going to be embraced by the youthful generation of this country. That we are going to stay clear out of, you know, drug abuse. We are going to avoid the temptations of always taking liquor and making, you know, the taking of alcohol as a culture in itself. So I think if we change that thing, because most of these accidents, if you want to, you know, just look very closely, some of these accidents could and can be avoided. Some of them happen because of, you know, some lapses from the driver, some lapses from even pedestrians. You know, things happen, and within a fraction of a second, we've lost 10, we've lost 1, we've lost 1 too many. Thank you.
It's a good thing that you pointed out in regards to also the taking of alcohol and drugs. That, of course, that's something that also the youth are grappling with, and we'll be looking at that as well. And on my far right, Advice Mudalo, apologies, I was not able to introduce you as the managing partner of 2 Cents Leadership Institute.
No problem.
Apologies for that. And also joining us on your screen is the lovely lady Susan Thuku, who will be handling the sign language interpretation for this discussion. But I also would like to weigh in on the road accident. We are going to be having a candid conversations with all the stakeholders involved, because this is something that we really can't sustain. 80 deaths, unfortunate, in 1 week.
First of all, thank you very much for having me here. I understand that you might have been too used to my role at the Jubilee Party.
Yes.
Now, just to speak about the accidents, I think it is obvious to all of us that 1 life lost is already a life too many. And looking at 80 lives, to me, I looked at it, and it was very disastrous. It was extremely disastrous, and this has not just happened just this time. We have had several other instances where we've been able to lose a huge number of people through these road accidents and road carnage. But then to be able to deal with this issue, we really need to look into the root cause of the problem. I think it is always easier to just lump the blame on one person, or call for intervention maybe from God. But be that as it may, I think we also have to look at the root cause of some of these problems. Because what is the training that our drivers are going through today? Me and you know that today we are living in a country where people can be able to get driving licenses using money than skill. And that is part and parcel of the problem that we are having. So we must be able to go down to the root cause. Let's the drivers. There was a time when I saw NTSA wanted to retrain drivers or something like that, but then it disappeared somewhere because of politics. But I think we need to go down to the root cause. Let us start from how we are training our drivers, how our roads even look like. You saw that roundabout actually. It actually doesn't look good. It looks like a death trap. So, and I'm sure maybe we'll be having such kind of cases in many other parts of the country. So we don't need to wait until there is a problem, and then we now want to run and try to look for now how to address it at that point. I think it's important that government officials are able to have a keen look at all the roads. How do our roads look like? What is the driver experience? Who are the drivers on the road, especially the public transport vehicles and the people who are actually driving them? Because sometimes, as my colleague says, you can be able to get into a public transport vehicle and the driver is under influence. We've been able to see instances where the drivers would park their vehicles towards the end, and as they wait for the customers to get into the vehicle, they would be somewhere drinking before they come and then take them back to the CBD or take them to another trip. So those are some of the interventions that we really need to look at. We need to be very serious on that. We need to look at the problems with the excess. Because we're looking at some vehicles are supposed to carry 14 people. Some are carrying 21 people. There was a time where in this country, it was almost impossible to see a vehicle that had carried excess passengers. But we have degenerated and gone back to the same. We must also look at, as nice as our matatu culture is, we must be able to have a thin line. There's a thin line between our matatu culture and the safety of the people. Because you get into some of the public transport vehicles and the music is as loud as something else. So you even wonder whether even the driver is able to actually concentrate on the road or not. So these are some of the things that we must be able to look at, and all of us must be sensitized, from those of us who are using the vehicles, the pedestrians on the street, the passengers and the drivers. So we must be able to have a wholesome approach and not a knee-jerk reaction that is most often unnecessarily political. Yeah.
I totally concur with your advice. More or less our conversations are centered on governance and leadership and politics.
Yeah.
Little do we do an audit of our roads. And allow me now to also introduce one of the panelists, Honorable Charles Ngusianguna, popularly known as Honorable CNN. He is the Mwingi West MP. Karibu sana Mheshimiwa.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. Karibu sana. Now, before we even look at a number of issues that are touching on the youth, Mheshimiwa, I'm quite sure you also feel the pain that we are feeling as Kenyans in regards to the road accidents that we have witnessed, and especially in the last 1 week. In as much as we have seen a number of accidents, a spike in the month of August, 80 lives in 1 week is a little bit on the higher side, Mheshimiwa. I would like to pick your mind on that.
Yes. Let me take this opportunity by condoling the families who have lost their lives in the recent cases of accidents. Secondly, I would like to say it's been really sad seeing all those accidents happening across the country. But I think we need to take the issues of NTSA in terms of training very seriously. Some of the drivers who have been driving our public vehicles, they don't even go through thorough training. Secondly, if they do, they are ignorant. They are not checked on a constantly basis, and that is why we have been witnessing this kind of accidents. And the other issue is the corruption happening in NTSA. Most of them end up being given driving licenses without going thorough checking their characters in terms of who is supposed to drive a certain vehicle. Some of these matatus, and especially the buses we drive, most of these drivers, they even take hard substances, which sometimes can be reckless in their cases, and that is why we are witnessing this kind of things. And driver not being checked whether he's drugged or not, it's quite a procedure, and that is why I'm calling for the Minister of to actually restore sanity in transport system. Most of these accidents are happening because of recklessness in terms of driving, overspeeding. Where are the speed governors nowadays? Are they being checked on regular basis? So this is some of the things Honorable Waziri Chirchir need to check on and ensure there is sanity in our road sector.
And just one word in regards to the road accident. I remember a couple of months here, I did interview Dr. Ochieng, who is the traffic commandant in the country. And one of the issues that he pointed out, Mheshimiwa, is that there's lack of political goodwill. In as much as what you talked about what happened to Alcoblo, talk about what the speed governance being being checked on a regular basis, and also generally you find a lot of politicians also in the transport industry, and they are not as well also observing those traffic rules.
Law, whether you are a politician, whether you are in judiciary, whether you are in executive, the law must be followed. Michuki effectively and efficiently implemented the system, and it worked perfectly. There is laxity. We've not seen any efforts of restoring this sanity in our road sector. And that is why I'm saying these issues of impunity, because you are a certain person in executive or in parliament or in political arena, you are not supposed to be treated. You are supposed to be treated in a special way. Let us all obey the law. The issue of blaming lack of political goodwill should not be arising here. Everybody is a Kenyan and must live within the law. And that is why I'm telling you, the Minister of Transport needs to be serious and stop blaming lack of political goodwill in this kind of situation. So I'm calling upon them to be very serious and implement the Michuki rules, and it will work effectively. No big fish in Kenya. We are all equal. We have to follow the law.
I totally concur. We really need to follow the law, and I appreciate that coming from a leader, that we should obey the law. It doesn't matter whether you're a leader or not. And still on this conversation, we'll be talking about unemployment and economic empowerment. We've seen some of that. Political and civic participation, education and skills development, governance, corruption, and also social inclusion for the youth. Again, today, we are celebrating International Youth Day. What have we done so far to ensure that the youth are included in a number of the things I've mentioned, including social and governance as well? I always say that last year during the Gen Z protest, it was a Damascus moment for the whole country, that we have to include even the youth in our discussion. And that is when I want to come to you, Mheshimiwa, and talk about how effective have been. We've seen a number of empowerment, the last one being, I think, over the weekend at State House. We've seen the Deputy President, the President, and also members allied to the ruling party initiate empowerment programs. Right here in Nairobi, we've seen them as well. I don't know whether Nairobi County has some of these empowerment programs, and if they have, we would like to hear them. And how effective has these initiatives been in addressing the issue or the challenge of unemployment, Mheshimiwa?
Well, I like the choice of your words, effective, and let me start with the effective.
Yeah.
These empowerment programs, they are just political, show. Because in real sense, today being the celebration of International Youth Day, which is now 25 years since it was established, of course, by United Nations, and the fact that is a serious matter. It behooves me to speak in a serious matter, and I put politics aside and other thoughts, because the youths are listening and their parents are listening. We need to come up with sustainable programs on how to empower, the youths. When I look back to support my argument, I got curious, and I wanted to know how we attained independence, the key players, and I went to Kapenguria 6. For those who have forgotten about Kapenguria 6, I went to Kapenguria 6 and I looked at them and their ages at that time, and they were 6. 6 of them, only 2, they were 50. One was 50, the other one was 55. And then the other 4, they were, one was 35, 31, 30, and then the other one was 28. When I looked at the statistics, because the numbers are there to look at the figures, and I looked at it, and to me that was 67%. 67% of the youths were represented in Kapenguria. I looked at our statistics in this country, and I looked at it and I found that 67 of our population, they are the youths. So if we treat youths like giving them some handouts, calling them for some, political rallies. Political rallies don't have to be just in the field, in Kamkunjo, elsewhere. A political rally can even take place in my compound. So we need to give them things that look like they are not well thought. Because if you, number one, not everybody is wired to do business. Sometimes, and that's the reason we find the Hustler Fund as issues, because we are dishing out money to people who are not wired to do business. We need to come up with sustainable programs, and sustainable programs, first of all, they start with equipping our youths with skills that they can use locally, skills that they can use internationally. In 1961, just 2 years to independence, we had the likes of Jomo Kenyatta, Paul Gay, Oginga, and the rest. When they were considering sourcing out for that time, KANU as a political party was a very powerful party, and they were sourcing out for a CEO. They went and brought Kibaki. At that time he was only 30, a youth, 31, because he had the skills. So first of all, before we just think of, because there's noise out there, and these needs go back to the leadership, and no, sometimes the things they do, they cause more harm than good. Because I read from some places that people are complaining, the beneficiaries of the so good goodies that were given on, I think on Saturday in State House, they were not the supporters of Kenya Kwanza system. I am watching from many groups that say, you have given our neighbors, you have given people who are opposing us, now they are the beneficiaries of this. So for me, bottom line, we need to listen to the youths. Sometimes the youths do not have people who are listening to them. And let me tell you, if all of us, like myself, for the purposes of justifying why I'm saying we must listen to the youths, I belong to Generation X. So, and sometimes when you do not listen to them, they have something they would have to. Do you think it was a coincidence that 67% of the Kapenguria 6 were youths? They were there because they had more say than the 3%. What does that mean? We should, as we interact with the youths, we should have embraced this spirit in ourselves. Maybe, we say, maybe they have something that is productive. Let us listen to them, and maybe they could be having other better ideas than what we have, so that what we are going to implement, it is a collective agreement between the youths and us.
You'll be telling us what Nairobi as a county is doing to empower the youth, but allow me just to switch to Mheshimiwa, because Mheshimiwa here has also pointed out something quite good. You see, they are being tied to matters politics, and we have seen some of the initiatives, the last one being last weekend. Mheshimiwa, I would like to pick your mind in regards to these economic empowerment programs, because you'll see during elections, allow me to use this example, you'll see Honorable CNN, tanks for the youths, to do some maybe some car wash business, branded Mheshimiwa CNN Mwingi West for Mwingi West MP. You'll see border as the same thing. We've even seen some being put on the shirts of some of the schools. I'd like you to pick your mind in regards to the economic empowerment programs that are currently underway, and do you thoroughly believe that this is the right way to go, Mheshimiwa?
First of all, there are many ways of killing a rat. Number one, you can give handouts in terms of money for youth to start business. And in my case, I've used Uwezo Fund as a good example on how you can empower youth. I remember and I recall very well in 2020, one of the youth I have, the youth group I have in one of the area called Gutan, I gave them 100,000. And right now, they have been using that money effectively and efficiently. They have been a success story. So it depends on when you give money to youth, what are they going to do? Some of them end up dividing the money and doing nothing. So it depends on the effort. Remember, if you are given money and you don't have a well-structured business proposal, it will not succeed. If you are given money and you don't have anything in plan, actually, you are just there to do an ordinary business, you are going to fail. You have to make sure you have got a serious business proposal that is sustainable and that is practically profitable. Otherwise, you are going to fail it doesn't matter how much money you give. You can even give billions of shillings in terms of empowerment. But if there is no plan, you are not going to succeed. So I am calling upon the youth across the country to make sure before you embark on this exercise of empowerment, let us have proper and serious business proposals that you are into detail and you can execute it effectively and in a profitable way, and we are going to succeed as a country. But if we just wake up one day and just go for empowerment, dish out money to groups, and these groups are not structured, they don't have common vision and mission, it doesn't matter how much you are going to give, you are going to fail. So I think I can encourage the government to continue with these issues of youth empowerment, but because it depends, but they have to train people first on how to use that money. There's a lot of money in place. We have got Uwezo Fund, which is interest-free. Like in my constituency, the 10 million I'll give in December. But I have to give the right groups. I train these groups first, the women groups and youth groups first, before giving out money, so that they can know what they are going to do. But if you give money haphazardly, you are not going to succeed as a country.
And still on the same, because you are a legislator, as Parliament, have you queried the source of this money, or are you planning to query the source of this money? Because I'm looking at the budget, there wasn't any appropriation for this kind of key projects.
We only wait for Auditor General reports. So at the moment, we don't know the source of the funds, where it is coming from. But we will only wait for this financial year, what auditor is going to give us, and we will query the different states and departments where the money has been misused. So we can't know exactly where the money is coming from. But out of curiosity, the President and the entire entourage, the members of Parliament who have participated in this empowerment program, they have been saying it is a personal contribution. So if they are in business and well and good they are giving out, I have got no issues, provided the money land to the right groups that can execute a proper business proposal. Yes.
Wamboi, I'm coming to you because I'm looking at some of this empowerment, and I would like to pick your mind in regards to what the government is doing to empower the youth. And being a youth yourself, I'm looking at what you've done at the courts. I've worked as a court reporter for about 4 or 5 years, and you began Sheria Mtaani, which is more or less giving pro bono services to people who cannot more or less be able to, afford the costs. This is more or less like empowerment, but you are not dishing out any money. Yeah, and what we have seen in the government side is that they are giving out a number of things, and also leaders. We've seen MPs, we've seen the deputy president also give out borders, giving out sewing machines. Mheshimiwa is supporting, but saying that we really need to have a structured way of training first before we can even dish out this money.
Well, thank you, Troy. Now, I mean, let us face it. The bulk of the Kenyan population, or even the population in the world, is the youthful population. These are people between the age of 18, as defined in our constitution, to the age of 35 years. So this means that indeed a government will reasonably, under those circumstances, be more, compelled to support the youth, because they are the future of their country, they're the future of the continent, they're the future of the world. In addition to that, it is important to also underscore that the Constitution itself, compels the government to ensure that they put in measures to protect this youthful population. We have classes of individuals that the Constitution has said protect this kind of individuals. We have the youth, we have the elderly, and of course, the marginalized in our community. So these are a group that the Constitution has said, well, with the benefit of us, looking at our past, there is the need for us to give a discriminative preference to this kind of population. So to that extent, then it is not for nothing that you will see the government coming up with the proposals and even sometimes wooing the young population, because they also have the majority of the votes if we are to go to an election. One thing I must concede, as it's said by Mr. Mutua here, is that these empowerments are being used as political tools to mobilize the youth around a certain political affiliation, or to give certain political allegiance, which is correct. But the truth of the matter is, politics is our life, and our lives is actually politics. Everything in this country, everything in the world is about politics. Politics has influenced the price of bread, the quality of education that our children are consuming, the kind of the roads that we are driving on, even the hospitals that we are accessing. Look at the machines that we have had to lease. Those are political decisions that have been made. So whichever way we want to look at it, it is politics at play. I must, on my part, say that there is nothing wrong with empowerment. In fact, most of us, what we are lacking as youths is the opportunity, that spark, so that we can shine, so that people can see what we are actually made of. But sometimes, well, this country, the youth of this country have been thrown into desperation, because opportunities are given to a privileged few. We have a certain class of people. We even have people who are aged 40, 50 years enjoying youthful positions. They are representing the youth, yet they are 50 years old. We have them even here in Bunge, Nairobi, the National Assembly. We everywhere we have these situations. But the truth of the matter is that a keen consideration needs to be given to the youthful generation. I agree with Mheshimiwa CNN that indeed, even while we have adopted this, the politics of philanthropy, because that is what we are doing. This politics of philanthropy is not bad, but if we do not put the correct measures in place, it means that we will be multiplying all the things that we are doing with zero. And every number multiplied by zero, even if it's 1 million, 10 million, the result is a zero. We need to focus on education and impacting skills on the youths. We are donating motorbikes. There is nothing wrong with that. Motorbikes have been a great source of employment in this country. Even myself, this morning, I used a motorbike to go to court, and then I used it to rush here. So it tells you that motorbikes have become very essential. These motorbike riders have become essential service providers. So what we need to do as a government, as a country, is number one, to focus on the skills of these riders of these motorbikes. We are donating motorbikes to people who do not have that driving license, that license. The government of the day has increased or bloated those fees that are chargeable at a time when someone is taking the insurance. We have these driving schools. The driving schools will charge an average of about 6,000 shillings for someone to be equipped with the skills. Then there will be about 2,000 or 1,500 shillings for someone to get that license. So it means for someone who depends on a hand-to-mouth activity, that they will have to ride a motorbike for the whole day, get 500 shillings, spare 300 shillings or 400 shillings to the owner, and then reserve a 100 shillings. Then telling someone to go to a driving school and to pay 6,000 shillings is quite on the very higher side. So I will be urging that the government, even while it has identified that the use of motorbikes is quite essential, and they are using it as a means of empowering the youth, let them first reduce the costs that a youth will incur to get equipped with the skills of driving that motorbike. Over and above that, there is a question about, Mheshimiwa CNN has mentioned it, you give me 10 billion, I become a drunkard 10 billion times. You understand? The education is also very important. Being a youth is a blessing and also a curse at a go. It's a double tragedy, oxymoronic if you want to mention. Because you are a youth, you have the time, you have the energy. Sometimes you do not have the money. Then when you get that money, the handouts that the politicians give us, you have the money, you have the energy, you have the time, but you do not have the education of using this money. You cannot multiply this money. So what do? You get what is called Sharia Sherehe. That is what we call it nowadays. So you will be partying a luta. It's called a luta. You will be partying from Friday. Continua from Friday, or actually Thursday, because Thursdays are reserved for reggae. So from Thursday, you will be partying all the way to Monday. So Monday, you will be nursing hangovers, and Tuesdays, waiting for Wednesday and Thursday. So it becomes a curse altogether. So we just need to also educate our youth. We tell them that indeed money is a tool that should be used to transform your life. This money is even drawn the image of the father of President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. But again, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta wakes up every morning to look for money that is drawn his father's image. So this money is not your permanent tool, but you need to use it creatively to ensure that you secure your future, that we invest it wisely, that we get into activities that will be generating money. And when we are in a group, let us use that money not to divide it. You're given 100,000 shillings. The first thing that you do is share yangu, share yangu, nipatie loot yangu. Then at the end of it all, what you could have done with the 100,000 shillings at a go, you can't do it because you have 100 shillings or 2,000 shillings that you end up now squandering.
And still picking from what Shadrach has mentioned and advice, I would like to pick your advice in regards to the informal sector, because more or less these empowerments are centered on informal sectors like the Juakali sector, the boda-bodas, the sewing machines we've seen, the bikes that we've seen, the car wash, what policies could be implemented to better support and formalize this? We have talked about, Mheshimiwa CNN has mentioned, Mheshimiwa Mutua has mentioned, and even Wakili has mentioned that we really need to have a structured one. If you give me, to avoid the looters and the mismanagement of the money. And also another thing, to avoid the issue of you're given 100,000. We saw some women, I think it was in some parts in Kisii, talking about how much each one has gotten. But they didn't tell us how much they had gotten as a group and how many they are and what they had planned to do with this money. First and foremost, I would like to pick your mind in regards to these economic empowerment programs currently being spearheaded by some of the government officials we've seen.
Thank you very much. I think first of all we need to look at what motivates the empowerment programs. What makes politicians, what makes members of parliament, what makes the president, cabinet secretaries, and all these leaders do these empowerment programs. We usually have a narrative that, in my view, is spinned more as a media narrative, where it makes it look as though it is the political class and the elected people that are interested in the empowerment programs. I would assure you that the empowerment programs are actually people-driven. It is the people that drive the politicians to come to do these empowerment programs. It is not actually the other way around. The politicians actually don't like doing them because it gets money out of their pockets. But the reality of the ground is that when Honorable CNN is on the ground every weekend, it is him facing the heat of the young people there, asking him what he is doing for them. And in that regard, he has then to come up with a program that then addresses the essential needs of these people on the ground. So that is the first reality. And the reason why this is able to be done, the problem with it is that it cannot be long-term, because it cannot be sustainable. Because we cannot be able to know, after the Honorable CNN has said he'll be doing, he's giving 10 million in December. If in the next election he's running for Senate or he's becoming a governor, the member of parliament who comes in will also have to give that 10 million. The question is, where will this member of parliament get it from? Because they don't know where CNN got his 10 million from. Because essentially, it's highly possible that that is not CDF, it is not what. It might be a way in which he is using his network or whatever to be able to mobilize this. So it now boils down to the abilities of the leader in office, the personal abilities of this leader in office to be able to mobilize these funds. And that is what makes it a scheme that is not sustainable. But then, can I be able to blame the leaders for it? I don't think so. Because as a leader, you must respond to the needs of the people. Because you are the one who is there with them every day. And then we, the people also, every time we are asking these fundamental questions, we avoid asking the questions to the right places, but only ask the questions to the political class. And that's why the political class is the one that is pushed to respond. Now, we have organs that are systemic in nature that should be able to address some of these issues. When you look at national government, we have the National Youth Enterprise Fund. Yeah? So, but then rarely do we see anyone putting them to task to ask them, what are you actually doing? Because the Youth Enterprise Fund, I think, was set up in the President Kibaki time, essentially to be able to deal with the youth question. We have the Women Enterprise Fund that was set up to deal with the women question. So we have so many, we have the Hustler Fund now that is there. So these are the systemic organs that have been put in place to be able to handle the question of these young people and marginalized groups, to be able to help empower them. But the question is, how far are they? How many times have you hosted them here to be able to tell you what they are actually doing? And it's because of their failure to be able to be out there that puts politicians on the receiving end and then makes the political class have to bear the bulk of then responding to this need. And also the political class now needs to put these questions in the parliament to ensure that these organs that we have set in place are able to be functional. Because the question is, why should we be able to have them if they are not functional? I can assure you, if you go to, and actually just yesterday, I received a request from one of the young people. You see, and the young person was telling me he has gotten an LPO from one of the NGOs to be able to do a supply, but they do not have the money to be able to do this. And I was able to send this to one of the directors at the Youth Enterprise Development Fund and tell them, why can't you guys fund this young person? Because part of what you're supposed to do is help young people finance these kind of things. But they couldn't be able to do that. They say, you know, it's a bureaucratic process and all that. You see, now some of these are now systemic issues that now make politicians have to step in and then make the people now ask the questions to the wrong people. So the question is, these organs that we have, we don't have a problem with the systems, actually. We actually have them. The question is, are they doing what they are supposed to do? Are they being followed up enough to be able to do what they are supposed to do? We have so many organs dealing with youth issues, including the National Employment Authority, including NITA, that is supposed to offer internships to the same young people. But the question is, most of the time, especially as young people, when we are placing our demands and our questions, we rarely want to direct it to the institutions that are responsible. Most of the time, we only want to direct the challenges of young people only to the political class. And I think that is where sometimes we get it wrong. And that's why I have a problem with now the Ministry of Youth Affairs and the State Department. Because you look at it, even on this International Youth Day, and the celebration I think is happening in Kakamega, an ordinary young person on the street is not even aware that today is International Youth Day. An ordinary young person is totally unaware of this. So the State Department must stop reducing youth issues to events. Because that is what they do. Youth issues are not events where you put together some young people, then you do a speech. They must be able to tell us those systems that have been put in place by government, those parastatals, those organs that have put in place, before we complain about what a member of parliament is giving, before we complain about the empowerment program, before we want to raise a complaint about what the president is doing, can the State Department of Youth Affairs be able to be accountable and tell the young people of this country, because they are the ones mandated with that responsibility, on this International Youth Day, can they give us the data from the National Youth Council? Can they give us the data from the National Employment Authority? Can they be able to talk about the Youth Enterprise Development Fund? Can they talk about the Women Enterprise Development Fund? Can they be able to talk about NITA? Because those are the institutions that we have to be able to handle these issues. Unfortunately, we don't hear much from them, and we too are to blame because we also don't ask much from them. Most of the time our questions are only on the political class, and that's why the political class must respond, and the only way they can respond therefore is the empowerment programs.
All right, and Mheshimiwa, in Parliament you have a caucus for youthful members of Parliament, and we would like to know what exactly you are doing to bring in even more of the young people, and especially when it comes to the by-elections that we have, and also when it comes to the general election. As you marinate on that question, allow me to, first of all, to cross over to the organizing secretary of CHAN. Mheshimiwa is talking about living for a committee, so we're going to pick your mind in regards to that. And also, as I had mentioned, you are a member of a caucus for the youthful MPs in Parliament. What exactly are you doing to empower the youth? I see the president is in Kakamega. My producer, Wasolo, informs me that the president is already in Kakamega for the International Youth Day. Before you leave, Mheshimiwa.
Yesterday, I would like to congratulate the youth who showed up in Parliament, actually. We had a mock Parliament for youth yesterday. And we did all the issues, electing the speaker, electing majority leader, minority leader, and even attending the committees. But that was mock Parliament. And they did very well. We had a conversation, and we picked so many potential candidates 2027 who are youthful, and they can actually win parliamentary seats and also the county assembly seats. And I would like to encourage the youth. Personally, when I was elected the first time, I was only 32 years old, and I have maneuvered and gotten re-elected again. So it is doable, provided you are going to tell the people the practical solutions to their problems. Provided you are not going to stick to the divisive politics. Provided you are going to tell people what you are going to do to change their lives without lying, without giving them false information, you can make it. Be frank, be honest, be fair. Anything that is possible, just promise them, but do it. If you don't do it, it is going to backfire for you. Like, for example, we have John Paul, who won elections without giving any tokens to electorates.
And that's the way to go.
They listened to him. They saw how big-hearted he is and how honest he is. And right now, he is now in Parliament second time. If youth can take that path and follow what Toto and John Paul did, I can tell you, we can fill up 70% of members of Parliament who are under 35, because they are the majority. 75% of the population in Kenya right now is youthful. I'm calling upon the youth. Let us listen to all young parliament aspirants who wants to be in National Assembly and county assemblies, and you are going to take over. But remember, you have to choose people who are learned and with good characters.
Mheshimiwa Charles Ngusia Nguna, popularly known as Honorable CNN, who is the Mwingi West MP and also a member of the caucus for the youthful members of Parliament, and you have heard that indeed the youth can make it, the likes of Toto, the likes of Mwirigi, the likes of Charles Ngusia Nguna, who is doing his second term, and it is possible. Let's take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we now tilt from empowerment now to matters governance, leadership, and politics for the youth. Remember, it's the International Youth Day.